you since since our last lesson together?
Well, honestly, nothing changed. Business as usual.
Right, business as usual.
Yeah, good news is that uh, the next weekend I'm going to work full time. I mean,
Work,
as
work
yeah, as
time.
work. Yeah, as you know, since April, I've been working
April.
April 80%
Yes,
due to coronavirus,
that's
and
right. You told me. Yes.
yeah, for the next week we will work for full time. I mean,
Oh,
also with
excellent.
Friday.
That's great. Oh, that's good news then. So it's really almost like business is normal again.
No, yeah, that's right. And salary would be better. I mean, increasing because of due to
Even better.
coronavirus. Yeah,
Really?
because of
Yes.
coronavirus,
Uh-huh.
we have had 80% of time, but salary was
Yes.
also reducing during this period of time. So
Ah, right. But I mean, when they increase it back up to full time, like 100% time, will the salary be the same as what it was before the coronavirus?
yeah, you're right.
Ah, yes. I thought they were giving you like an extra bonus because of the coronavirus and because you were so brave that you came to work. You were so courageous despite the risk of contamination. I think it was a bit like danger money. They were giving you an extra bonus because going to work is now a dangerous situation. Uh,
Yeah.
no, it's not like an extra bonus because there is the coronavirus. No. So you're being paid the same
Yes.
when you're
Uh,
working full time,
uh,
like full time
in the
before,
past,
like
that's
compared to the
right.
past. Ah, all right. Okay then. So, oh yes, today it's English joke humor. So, let's have a look what we did last time. Do you remember which jokes we talked about last time, Damien?
Uh, Honestly, I do not remember. So let's talk
Okay.
about other one.
So, did I tell you about the types of jokes called puns? Puns. What is
Mm,
a pun? Pun.
pan,
Or
pan.
another way of describing it is a play on words. Have you ever heard of a play on words?
Um, well, yeah, I know what you are talking about,
Mm-hmm.
eh, but in English, I've never heard. I mean,
Ah.
I've never played,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never heard. But you mean situation when we are only talking about something,
Yes.
or either
Either.
either
Either. That's right.
writing, describing using our hands
Yes.
to
Oh,
express
you
or
mean on
explain
the other hand?
anything.
Do you mean on the other hand?
No, no. Uh, because of in Polish,
In Polish,
we have
yes.
two versions.
Yes.
Firstly, we can describe only using. Uh, Give me a second, Walter, please.
Yes, of course, Damien.
I'm back, Walter.
That's great. Excellent. So
Uh,
you're saying in Polish there were two ways of
uh,
describing that?
no, maybe not describing, but kind of version of that game, if I can tell like that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Firstly, describe something
Yes.
using only mm, by only using our mouth, I mean speaking, and trying to
Ah,
describe something. And the second version is we can also write,
mhm.
paint,
Yes,
uh, using ourselves, using hands and
right.
etc.
I
So
see. Hmm.
yeah, so which one
Yes,
do you mean?
yes, I see what you mean.
Telling about
Hmm.
PUN?
Yes, PUN, like a play on words. In fact, the pun, you see, it's like a word that is pronounced the same, but has two different meanings, and often it's spelled differently as well. But when you're saying it, obviously, it's not like when you're reading it. When you read it, immediately you see the other meaning because it's spelled differently. But when it's pronounced, because these two words are pronounced the same, even though they mean two completely different things and are written differently, when you're actually saying it, it's only according to the context that you can understand which of the two meanings it is. But even in the context, some people still confuse these words, and that can lead to some very funny situations. Do you see what I mean, Damien?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, for example, I'll give you an example of a play on words. Okay. So, there's this joke with three deaf old ladies, and they go for a walk in the park. And the first deaf old lady says, "Ooh, what a lovely bunch of cows." Okay,
Yeah.
right. Then the second deaf old lady says, "No, no, not a bunch, a herd." Okay,
Okay.
right. And then the third deaf old lady says, "Herd of what?" Herd of what? You see? And then the next deaf old lady says, "Herd of cows." And then the other deaf old lady says, "Of course I've heard of cows." And then the other deaf old lady says, "No, no, a cow herd." And the final deaf old lady says, "Well, so what? I don't care. I don't have any secrets I need to hide from a cow." Do you understand the joke, Damien?
Um, Honestly, almost.
Almost. Oh, that's good. Some students have difficulty with this one.
Uh,
Tell me
well, but
what you understand and what you don't understand.
well, well, I do not under. From my point of view, there should be, a deeper meaning
Hmm.
of that joke or something,
Yes.
but I can't identify that.
I, I,
Perhaps maybe it's a specific British humor.
oh, of
Uh,
course. This is specific British humor. This is typical English humor because the English, they love the play on words. So, yes, this is very typical. Now, do you see the word which is the, let's say, the basis of the pun?
No, but Walter,
Yes?
as you request before, maybe I will try to explain shortly,
Yes.
uh, and we'll see if I understand correctly. So,
Yes. That's
uh,
good.
three ladies were talking about situation when they saw a crowd of cows.
Okay, that's right. Like a crowd of cows, yes.
Blah 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 blah, and the mm, and then the lady told that she's nothing
Normally, you
behind.
wouldn't say the lady told that. You would normally say the lady said that, because when you're using the verb to tell, you could say the lady told her friend that. That will be all right, because when you're using the verb to tell, here in the past, of course, told, the past participle, we are actually only using that verb when we're actually telling it to somebody precisely and referring to the person who we are telling it to. So you see, when you're saying the lady told her friend that, and then whatever it was, then it's all right to use the verb to tell, because you're telling somebody. But if you don't specify that she's telling this to somebody in particular, if you're just saying that she's saying something, like the lady said that, and then, of course, what she said, then you would use the verb to say, because you're not specifying that she's saying it to somebody, you're just saying that she said this or she said that. Can you see the difference there, Damian?
Yeah. Okay. So
Excellent.
the correct one is so back to the topic. The lady told.
Told her friend that, or
Yeah.
the lady said that.
Okay. So okay, the lady told her that the lady told her friend that.
That's good.
Uh,
Yes.
mm, how can I describe it? She don't care because of.
She doesn't care. Not she don't care,
Yeah.
because it's third person singular, so it's she doesn't care. Yes.
She doesn't care because she doesn't have any secrets and anything
Hmm.
behind them, and
Yes.
don't care about any. If I can describe a third party,
A
I
third
mean,
party. Yes, a cow is like a third party. Exactly.
yeah, but yeah. So uh, please, can you tell me if I understand it
Yes,
correctly
of course, I'll
for me?
tell you. Yes.
Yeah, yes, but as I told you, I'm considering it's a specified British humor if I
N-
am not
Not
related.
specified, you would say specific.
Specific.
That's right. If you're saying specified, that would be used if this is the specified treatment, which is the treatment that has been designated or indicated as being the correct treatment. It's been specified. That means that somebody has deliberately prescribed it, you see. Now, specific is just a word like particular, like something that's particular, it's something that is specific. Okay, it's something
Okay.
in particular without it necessarily being prescribed by the doctor as specified or designated or indicated as being appropriate for something. Can you see that difference, Damien?
A little.
A little. Okay. Well, it's better than nothing at all then. It's just a difference between just saying that something is particular or
Oh,
saying when it's specified from the verb to specify, because specific is only an adjective, it's not a verb, you see. But the verb to specify is actually when you are saying something precisely in the sense that you are designating something. Okay, so there it's something that has been deliberately designated, but when you say it's something specific or in particular, it just means it's something precise, but hasn't necessarily been recommended by somebody, if you see what I mean. So specified, I just write that as well in the Skype chat, is something that is recommended, um, in particular,
I
whereas
Okay, but
specific is
it
only
might.
in particular. Yes. So you were saying?
Uh, I'm thinking about recommended. So, do you
Recommended,
mean
yes.
it's recommended, but someone
Yes.
or a third party?
Yes.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
see,
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to understand it deeper.
uh-huh. So a doctor would recommend something, he would specify something as being what he suggests, what he advises the person to use for the treatment. Then he would specify something. And what he specifies is something specific, it's something in particular, but it has been specified by him. That is, he has like prescribed it on a prescription. You see, he's written it down, and what he's written down is something precise. So specified means that he has recommended it, he has indicated that, and what he's indicated is therefore something precise, specific. So, in fact, you could use both together in the same sentence. You could say the doctor specified a specific medication or treatment for the patient.
Okay.
You
Okay.
understand that
Yeah,
that better
yeah.
now?
I understand
Right.
it. I got it. So,
Ah,
uh,
wonderful. Excellent.
back to our topic. Um,
Yes.
I don't know. I am not familiar with specific.
Familiar. Familiar.
Familiar with specific British
Specific.
humor.
Specific.
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 Yes, that's right.
Uh, English British English. No, that one was British joke or
Yes.
humor.
Yes, this is
So as
yes.
I
Uh-huh.
told you before, I can't catch deeper meaning of that.
Ah, you can't catch
Yes.
the deeper meaning. Well, in fact, there are a few puns, actually. It's not like just one joke. There's actually several little jokes in there. And it's quite funny, actually, but because when I was telling this to one of my students to give the example of a pun, like I'm doing now, the play on words, uh, when I arrived at one of my little jokes in this like bigger joke, he said, "Oh, that's really good. Oh, good joke." And he understood it and he laughed. And I said, "But hang on, the joke isn't finished yet. There's still more to come." Yes, wait for it. Hang on. And so I continued the joke, and he said, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." He said, "That's like a double or triple joke. There's actually several little jokes in there." And he was totally surprised. He wasn't expecting more than one joke within the joke, you see.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So let me just talk you through it, okay? Just so that you understand the deeper meaning of this. Now, first, you need to identify what is the word that is the object of the pun. That is the word that's being played with in this play on words, you see? Now, can you see which word is the object of the pun, Damien, in the
Mm,
joke? Can you see? Can you see that? Can you see in the Skype chat what I've written?
yeah. Perhaps cows.
Well, you see, cows, it doesn't change, you know. The spelling is the same, the meaning is the same, and the pronunciation is the same. But a pun, as I said before, was two different words with often two different spellings, two different meanings, but with the same pronunciation. Can you see any two words there which are written differently, but which are pronounced the same?
Mm, heard.
Heard, that's it. So, do you know what the two meanings of this word, heard, are?
Yeah.
Can you describe them to me, please, just to make sure that you fully understood that, Damien?
Yeah. Firstly, uh, firstly, describing situation when you catch something. I mean, you. for example, you were listening to radio and
Mm-hmm.
got a nice song, and
Mm-hmm.
you heard something news from TV
That's
station,
it.
something like that.
Right.
And
Exactly.
the
Yes.
second
And the second one,
and
yes.
the second one is about if I may use a different word, it's a
Yes, of
crowd,
course.
just
Crowd.
crowd of
That's it.
cows.
Exactly. It's like the collective name of a group of cows. Exactly. And that is a herd spelled Herd, whereas the past
But
participle of
Olga,
the verb to
if I
hear. Yes,
may
yes, yes,
interrupt you, what
yes,
is the
tell me.
correct pronunciation of both? Uh, I
It's
mean, is the same like
it's
herd?
it's exactly the same. When it's the past participle of the verb to hear, heard, okay, it's the same pronunciation as the collective name for a group of cows, which is a herd.
Okay.
So heard and heard is exactly the same. Of course, one is a verb in the past participle, Heard, past participle of the verb to hear, whereas the other one, which is slightly shorter without the letter A in the middle, it's Herd, is just the collective name for the group of cows, a herd. But because this word sounds exactly the same, but it means two different things according to the context, and it's spelled differently, then when you're saying the joke, obviously the other person can misunderstand the meaning of that word, thinking that it means the other, like, thinking that it's the other word that's being said with the other meaning. Do you see that, Damien?
Yeah, I see, but I'm thinking if we can use for example, crowd instead of herd.
Well, in fact,
In this
yes,
special example, of course.
yes, of course. I see what you mean. It's just another name, which is a bit like a synonym. Now, in fact, the first lady who spoke, saying, "Ooh, what a lovely bunch of cows." In fact, when she was using the collective word bunch, she was saying the same thing as a crowd. I mean, it's like a collective name, you see, except normally you use the word bunch for a bunch of flowers, you see. Normally, because collective names are different for different things, each different thing has a specific, you see, we're using the specific word again. That means in particular, has a specific name to describe that collective group, you see. So for flowers, we talk about a bunch of flowers. For cows, we talk about a herd of cows. And so for each different type of animal, there is actually a different word to describe it or to describe a group of those
A group of
animals.
animals. Yes.
Yes. Had you heard that before, um, Damien?
No, I've
No.
no, I've never heard.
Okay. So, for example, here I'm going to send you a link, okay, for a list of the collective names, okay, for animals. And there we are. I think this one's a good one. So it's in the dictionary. It's in your dictionary. That's what it's called. The website is grammar.yourdictionary.com. And there you have the names of lots and lots of different animals, and it can give you an idea, okay, of what I'm talking about here. So I'll put the link in the Skype chat for you. Let me know as soon as you've received that.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, now have a look at all these collective names for animals. So it's not the first couple of paragraphs, it's in the next section, just after the third paragraph. There's a whole list. Can you see that list?
Yeah.
Now, just look at those names. I mean, isn't that absolutely amazing when you see those names of all those different animals? Did you actually
Okay,
know
but
that? Yes?
yeah, but I'm not familiar with each.
Familiar.
I'm
Familiar.
familiar.
Yes.
I,
Ah.
I mean, um,
Hmm.
I'm I'm scrolling down
Yes.
and I see only one which I am familiar with. I mean, maybe not familiar. It's too much, but I heard or saw
You've
in the
heard of
past
it. Yes. Which
that
one is it?
example,
Yes.
zebras, azil,
No, no, no. That's American. The Americans would say zebras, but the British would say zebras because the
zebras.
British say Z as the last letter of the alphabet, but the Americans say Z as the last letter of the alphabet. So you hear the difference between Z and Z, the difference between zebras, the American way, and zebras, the British way of saying it.
Okay, zebras.
So you've heard of a zeal, because that word is pronounced Z, because you don't talk about a zeal. So that's a bit of an exception. So you've heard about a zeal of zebras.
Yes, I
Oh,
saw it
you saw
somewhere,
it.
but
Oh,
I do not remember where. But
uh-huh.
alter is azil specific. Um, is azil related only to zebras or
Zebras.
zebras or
Yes,
because of I see uh,
I think
many
so.
animals here and
I've
a
never
group
heard.
is
Yes, the group
yeah,
is.
uh, described to specify any
Specifically. So it's been specified specifically. That means they've indicated it in particular, if you see what I mean.
okay specify uh, that for special kind of group of animal. I mean,
Yes.
azil is related only to zebras.
Zebras, yes, I think so, because when I look at the whole list, I don't see any other animal which has zeal as the collective name. Whereas I do see a pack of mules and also a pack of wolves. So there's two different animals which can be regrouped in a pack. Or you can also have a pack of weasels. That's a third animal which can be regrouped in a pack. So you see, pack is much more common and is used for different animals, but zeal is used only for the zebras. You see the difference there, Damien.
Mm, yes, I see. But what is the reason of describing that
Ah, a pack
a
of
group?
dogs as well. I found another one, pack of dogs. The reason is that, you see, I don't know if they have this in other languages, really, uh, but maybe it's only, in English that we have these collective names which are different for each type of animal. I mean, in Polish, for example, do you have different collective names to describe different types of animals, Damien?
Mm, yes, there is, but
Ah,
there are a couple of group.
hmm,
I don't think so that there are many groups
hmm.
uh, as I can see right now.
Yes, yes, there might be less in other languages. Maybe it's just the English have decided that each animal should have its own name. Well, maybe not every single one, but at least as many different names as possible to describe the group. But obviously, some animals share the same group name, like the word herd is very popular. We were talking about a herd of cows. You can talk about a herd of elks. You can even talk about a herd of rabbits, believe it or not. And so herd is quite a popular name as well. So yes, it's very interesting. So now coming back to our joke about herd. So the first
Yeah.
lady talks about a bunch of cows instead of the correct word, which would be a herd of cows. Now, you're asking me about the word crowd of cows. Well, of course, we understand what you mean when you say a crowd of cows, just like it's understandable when you say a bunch of cows. But it's not the correct word, you see,
Yeah.
according to the dictionary. So the second one corrects her by saying it's not a bunch. It's a herd. That's the correct word that you're supposed to use. Now, the third one, because these are all deaf old ladies, when the second one says a herd, the third one just heard the word herd and asked the question because she'd missed the rest. She missed the beginning of the sentence. So she was saying, what was that you said? Heard of what? Have I heard of what?
Okay.
And then the other one says herd of cows, just to, specify that, it's cows that are being referred to. Because actually, the other one, when the third one said herd of what, thought that she was asking a group of what. But she wasn't asking a group of what, she was asking, have I heard of what? Talking about the verb to hear in the past, you see.
Yeah, I see.
And then the other one says, well, of course I've heard of cows. When the one before says heard of cows, then she said, of course I've heard of cows. But then to be more precise and more specific, to use that word again, the other one tries to say it in a different way. Instead of saying not a bunch, a herd of cows, then she turns it around and she says a cow herd. You see, you can either say a herd of cows or you can talk about a cow herd. Like you could talk about a pack of wolves or a wolf pack. Okay.
Okay.
So she says, no, a cow herd. Now the other one misunderstood the word herd, just like she was saying that a cow had heard what was being said.
Yeah.
Had heard the conversation. You understand that now?
Yeah, I understand.
And that's what she said. I don't have anything to hide from a cow. I mean, I don't care if the cow heard what was being said, because basically, even if the cow had heard, it's not exactly going to repeat what it's heard to anybody else, because all the cow can say is moo, moo, moo. So it's not exactly going to repeat any secrets. Do you like that joke, Damian?
Ah, well, yeah. It was quite okay, but as I told you,
Uh-huh.
I was not familiar with that, so
Familiar. Familiar.
familiar with that, and
That's right. Hmm.
yeah, it made me a little trouble to understand it deeper, but now
Hmm.
it's understandable. I fully understand.
You wouldn't say it made me a little trouble. You said you would say I had a little trouble.
I
You'd say
I had a little trouble.
yes. You don't talk about making a trouble. You can talk about somebody making trouble, but here it was you having a little trouble understanding it. So I had a little trouble understanding it. There we are. So, as with our English joke humor lesson, we each take turns telling uh, each other jokes. Now it's your turn to tell me a joke, Damien. Do you know any good English jokes? Any British jokes?
maybe not British, but I saw last time on
Uh-huh.
the internet
Yes.
some funny
Mm-hmm.
a picture. So I'm going to describe you
Yes, please.
that situation.
You don't say describe you. You say I'm going to describe to you, because after the word describe, you need to have the word to before what you are describing, or the person to whom you are describing in this case. So I'm
Okay,
going to
so
describe
I'm
to you.
going to describe to you.
That's because you're describing it to a person. Now, if you were to use the verb to describe, but you're describing an object, you're not saying that you're describing it to the person, but you are saying like, I'm going to describe to you, I'm going to describe a painting, for example, you see? Or I'm going to describe a book, or I'm going to describe a film. There, when it's directly the object of your description, then you don't need to use the word to. But if you are saying in your sentence that you are describing whatever it is you're describing to somebody, then you have to use the word to. It's to me, to you, to him, to her. Do you see what I mean, Damien?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
so I'm
great.
going to describe to you that
Excellent.
situation.
Yes,
So
please.
please imagine
Hmm.
a situation when
Yes.
is full winter season.
Right. Yes, the winter
Uh,
season. Hmm.
there is snowing. The snow
You
is
don't say there is snowing. You either say there is
it's snowing.
snow, or exactly, or if you want to use snowing, then you say it's snowing. That's right. If it's a verb, it's snowing, then it's snowing. But if you're referring to if you're saying there is, then there is an object. You see, then you have to use the noun snow. There is snow, or it's
Okay,
snow. Yes. Okay. Hmm.
you know, uh, full winter season. It's snowing, and
Yes.
in a car is fully covered by
Covered.
covered by snow,
Covered.
and
Yes.
in front
Mhm.
of that car,
Yes.
a father and son,
A father,
are,
remember,
a
always with
father
the
and a son,
article in front, the indefinite article. Yes, a father and a
a
son.
father
Yes,
and a son
yes.
stand,
Or
and
are standing, or they stand. Father
uh,
and son stand. Yes, you can say stand. That's okay. Father and
s-
son stand.
stand, and the son uh, keeps a smartphone in
Hmm.
his hand,
Right.
and the father told him, "Son, there is no application," and giving him a shovel to to
S-
uncover the the car from
s-
snow.
So he says that there isn't any application on the
In your
smartphone
in your smartphone to
in the smartphone
uncover
which
or
will
grab
or
snow.
take the snow off the
Yes,
car. Yes.
that's right.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And give them a shovel.
Oh, it gives him
It's
a
funny.
shovel. Yes, like a spade.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
it's a
right.
little funny because of
Oh, I
smartphones and
see.
mobiles are everywhere, and
Oh, right.
teenagers,
Yes.
spending many times using smartphone, and
Not
that
many
that was good.
times. You would say a lot
A
of
lot of time.
their time, singular. Okay, we're
Also,
talking about time in general, you see. So they're spending a lot of time or a lot of their time. But if you say times, that is like the frequency, like how many times do you use your smartphone? It's not the same as asking the question, how much time, singular, do you spend using your smartphone? Can you see the difference there, Damien?
yeah. So a lot of their time
A lot of their time, yes.
during s- her spare time,
Yes, that's right.
and it made me laugh because of
It is funny, actually. Yes.
yeah, the father told there is no application in your
Hmm.
mobile. Take the shovel and take
Yes,
off.
that's right. It's like saying, yeah,
Oh,
because you see, young people think that internet has the answer to everything, and having the internet on the mobile phone, the smartphone, then the child thought that there was going to be some kind of application that would enable there to be a solution to this snow situation. But obviously, yes, the father is quite right. And some situations where the smartphone won't help at all, and you just have to use muscle power to actually dig the snow off the car.
Yes.
Yes.
So maybe it's not a joke, but it's
It
related.
is funny. Yes, I see what you mean. It isn't a joke in the same sense of it's like a, yes, that's right. It's a funny situation, um, but it's not a joke in the sense of like there's a punchline, like a typical joke, like asking a question, what does this, what does that? But I see what you mean. It is a funny situation, and it's a funny way of looking at things and understanding things. So, yes, in that sense, we could say it's a joke. It's something that makes you laugh, but it's a specific type of joke. It's what you would call maybe a situation humor, because what's funny is a situation. You see, it's a very particular situation. It's a very amusing situation.
And I'm considering it's a common situation during winter.
You were saying you consider
Uh,
it's a
it's a common version. It's a common
common. Oh,
situation.
yes, of course, absolutely. Yes, a very common situation. Yes, I quite agree with you. That's quite right. Absolutely. And so, yes, that is a very good one, actually. Thank you for that one, Damien. Now, let me explain to you other types of jokes that the English like a lot. Have you ever heard of a knock joke?
No, no, never heard.
Never heard of a knock knock joke. Okay. So, a knock knock joke is a joke where there is interaction between the person telling the joke and the person who's listening to the joke. Now, we have like a scenario where somebody is knocking at the door. Okay. So, I say knock knock, just like a person who's knocking on the door, and then as it's your door, so therefore, when you answer the door, you would say, "Who's there?" So you need to say, "Who's there, Damien?"
Who's there?
That's right. And then I then give a name, indicating the name of the person who's at the door. And in this case, the name is Isabel. Okay, so I say
Okay.
the name Isabel.
He's a,
Right, but then you want to know more because maybe you know half a dozen different Isabels and you want to know which Isabel it is. So to have the second part of the name, like the surname, the family name, etc., then you ask the question, Isabel who?
Isabel who?
And then I give you the second part of the name now, Isabel necessary on a bicycle. So it's
Okay.
the full name is Isabel necessary on a bicycle.
Well, but I didn't catch that.
Okay, because obviously as it's
Well,
English humor,
yeah,
it's a bit special, you see.
as
Yes,
the same as before. I understand it fully, but
yes.
no idea what is the deeper meaning or a second meaning of that.
Well, there is a second meaning, you see, because if I write it for you in a different way, because once again, this is a kind of play on words, and but it's called a knock knock joke, so it is a different category of joke, even though they use puns and play on words as well. So if I was to write this in a different way so that you can see the difference, you can see these more easily when it's written than when it's spoken, because when you say it, it's said in exactly the same way. There's no difference. But when it's written, can you see what I've written now? Is a bell necessary on a bicycle? You know the bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling, ding, 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 ding-a-ling-a-ling. You know the sort of little bell that people have on the handlebars of a bicycle. So if somebody's in the way, you just go ding, 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 ding to avoid knocking the person over so that the person moves out of the way. You see what I mean, Damien?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so the question is, because you know that lights are necessary on a bicycle when you're riding the bicycle at night, because at night you're supposed to have lights on a bicycle, you see?
Yeah, sure.
But the question is, what about a bell? Is a bell necessary on a bicycle? Do you have
Uh,
do you need to have a bell? Do you have to have a bell on a bicycle?
mm, it should be, but not always.
It should be.
Highly
Yes.
it's highly recommend
Oh,
to have,
yes.
but
Hmm. That's true, but not always.
it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. That's it. Exactly. Now, you see, this is a funny question. Is a bell necessary on a bicycle? But you see, uh, the first three words, is a bell, when you put them all together and say them quickly, it sounds like Isabel, like the girl's name, Isabel. You see?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like Isabel is a girl's name or a person's name, a first name, you know, like a Christian name. And then the last part, you all put it together and it becomes necessary on the bicycle. And so it sounds like the person's name has, like the person has a funny name, Isabel, necessary on the bicycle.
Okay. Yeah, I see.
Now, obviously, this is English humor, so it's, very particular, as we were saying before, very specific, and
It's very
obviously,
special
that's
kind of
right,
joke.
very special. That's right. The English, they're used to this, so they find this very funny, you see. Uh, so that is an example of a knock-knock joke, you see. Now, do you have any other jokes, English jokes, or
Mm,
British jokes, or anything like that, Damien?
Nothing in my mind actually, but
What
let
about
me think.
Polish jokes? Do you know any good Polish
Uh,
jokes? You must know hundreds of Polish jokes, I'm sure.
o- okay, I got something.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
uh, Two ladies are sitting in a bar
Yes.
and drinking alcohol,
Yes.
and um, one of them tells to the second, "Oh, looks."
Not tells to the
Uh,
second. Now, with the verb to tell, you directly tell the person. You don't tell to the person. So you would say, um, the first one uh, tells the second one. So not tells to the second one, but tells the second one. Now, if it was the verb to say, then you do have to use the word to after the verb. Then you would say the first one says to the second one. But when it's the verb to tell, then you don't use the word to. You just say the first one tells the second one. Can you see the difference there, Damien?
okay, so the first one tells the second one.
That's right.
Okay, so the first one tells the second one,
Yes.
looks there, they are two ugly girls.
Mm-hmm.
We may
Girl.
look
Girl.
girl.
Yes.
We may look the same for the 15 years,
Oh,
and
we may look like
look
them. Look like
like
this.
we will
Look at
look like them
like them or the same way. In 20 years. Is that right?
20. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
the first lady told, "This is a mirror, you idiot."
Oh no. Oh, that's a brilliant joke. Oh, that's amazing. I never thought that is a good one. I haven't heard of that one before. That is really good. I must remember that one for my other students. That's good. Thank you, Damien. I really like that joke. That's a really good joke, that. Amazing. Wow. Is that a typically Polish joke?
Well, no idea if it is typically Polish joke. I remember that from the past,
Ah.
so I just
Mhm.
told you.
Yes, that's really good. I really like that one.
But you know what?
Yes.
Honestly, in my daily life, I
Uh-huh.
don't have um, a behavior and any of my friends
Mm-hmm.
to telling joke. Maybe it's more popular in British, you
Oh,
know.
yes, the British, they love telling jokes, whether it's at work, when it's the break, when everybody's having a coffee break or a lunch break. They love telling jokes to each other. And when they're socializing at the pub, they love telling jokes as well. And anywhere that the English are, they would just try and find something funny to say because they really like that. That is almost like their mentality or their culture, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I see.
Yes, it's very special. That's why there are so many different types of English jokes, and that's probably why English humor has a worldwide reputation as being very special because there are lots of different types of jokes, which some of which don't actually exist in any other country. I mean, there's also the Irish jokes. I don't know if you've heard of Irish jokes before.
Yeah, yeah, I heard
You've
something.
you've heard of them. Oh, can you
Yeah.
tell me an Irish joke,
Well,
Damien?
honestly, what I don't remember anything special.
Ah,
I just I know I just heard something, but
mm-hmm.
nothing in my mind actually.
Okay. Well, if I was to tell you an Irish joke, for example, how do you confuse an Irish person? How do you put them in a state of confusion? How do you make them confused?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, you ask them to go into a round room and then you tell them to sit in the corner
Okay,
and they would then be confused. Do you understand why?
no.
Well, how many corners are there in a round room?
Ah, zero.
Exactly, because for a corner, it's where two walls meet together at a right angle at 90 degrees, but you don't have any corners in a round room, so the person doesn't know where to sit. So this is a typical Irish joke, you see, because the British they like to make fun of lots of different things, including the Irish, just like the French like to make fun of the Belgians, because Belgium is a little country next to a big country like France, just like Ireland is a little country next to the UK. So that's why the bigger country tends to make jokes or to say jokes about the smaller country. You see what I mean, Damien?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And one more joke before we come to the end of the lesson. Have you ever heard of a shaggy uh,
Shag.
dog joke story?
No, I've never heard.
So, a shaggy dog joke story or a shaggy dog story joke. I think, yes, people usually say it the other way around, although both ways are possible. So, a shaggy dog story, because they're usually called shaggy dog stories, so we better keep that together and then say that it's a joke at the end, just to so that you know that it's not just a story but also a joke. So it's a shaggy dog story joke. Now, for that, I actually have um, a link that I can send you which has a whole list of shaggy dog stories. And it'll be interesting, if you like, for homework, for you to read some of these shaggy dog stories.
Okay, so can I just put into Google
Of
Shaggy
course.
Dog Story
Oh, of
Joe, and I
course. You can put it into
probably I will
Google.
find something.
Absolutely. You can put it into Google. But let me already send you this link because this is a good link which explains these shaggy dog stories quite well and gives some good examples. But if you can find some using Google for your homework, that's great. So that you could really study these shaggy dog stories and understand them. And the thing that's particular about these shaggy dog stories, I've asked my different students who have the English joke humor lessons with me, who come from lots of different countries, and I keep asking them, in your country, do you have anything similar, like some kind of equivalent type of joke to a shaggy dog story joke? And so
Oh,
far, everybody's said no, that they've never heard of this kind of joke before, and that in their country they don't have this kind of joke. You see? So it'll be interesting, Damian, for you to tell me if in Poland they have this kind of joke, if it exists in Poland or not.
okay, yeah, let me
Yes.
let me read it, and we'll
Yes.
discuss about it during the next class.
Yes, that'll be really interesting to see what you think about it, about these shaggy dog stories. And it's a very specific type of joke, you see, because here it's a bit like the person who's telling the joke is actually joking with the person who's listening to the joke. So it's as though you, instead of a joke that's making fun of somebody else, like with the Irish jokes, where they're making fun of the Irish, here, the person who's telling the joke is, in a sense, making fun of the person who's listening to the joke. I don't know if you see what I mean. Do you understand that?
Uh, well, yeah, but I am not. Mm, I've never read and heard that before, so maybe I
Ah,
will have deeper or better point of view when I read
of
it.
course. When you read it, you'll have a better point of view. And this is like a challenge because people do this a little bit like a sport, you see. They're trying to see how long they can keep the other person interested when they're telling the joke. And sometimes these jokes go on for more than 1 hour, Damien.
Oh, wow.
Yes, wow, exactly. Can you imagine? And so the person who's listening to the joke continues listening sometimes for more than 1 hour.
Our
Yes, it's amazing. And you see, the person who's telling the joke, they look at the time before they start to tell a joke, and then they look at the time once again when the person listening to the joke says, "Oh, I really must go now. I have something else to do." And then it's the time when the joke ends because the person is no longer interested in listening to the joke, you see, and that means you've lost the person's attention. And then the people telling the joke, they try and time it to see what is the longest period of time they can keep the other person listening to the joke. And they try
yeah,
and
during
beat,
1 hour.
that's right, more than an hour. They try to beat their own record, you see, to make it as long as possible. And so, of course, they're going to make the joke really long. So they're going to say lots of different things to build up the suspense, you see, because normally the funny part of the joke is right at the end. Isn't that right, Damien?
All
Often
right.
it's right at the end. That's right. So the person, because of the suspense, because of the build-up, the person's like really wondering, you know, what's going to happen at the end. So they keep listening, and the joke becomes more and more sophisticated and elaborate and intricate. And, you know, the person is supposed to be more and more interested because they're really wondering, where is this leading to? You know, what is the conclusion to this? And then when they hear the conclusion, well, that is a joke in itself, because in the conclusion, they often don't have the answer that they're expecting. They were expecting, you know, a denouement. I don't know if you've heard of that word in French. Denouement.
No,
Have you heard of that word before?
no, never heard.
Okay, a denouement, which is a French word, but it's used also in English literature. It's when you have the like solution to something. Okay, it's like when you have the punchline of a joke. The punchline being like the final line, the final sentence is usually the joke. So it basically explains everything that happened beforehand or that was told beforehand in the joke. So it's like basically the grand finale. That's the denouement. It's basically putting everything back in place and making the person understand the situation. But here with the Shaggy Dog story, they do not receive exactly the kind of ending to the joke that they're expecting, because there's always something that avoids the expected ending from being given. There's always an excuse like, oh, but because of this, it's not possible to say why all of this happened. And finally, the person has been listening for over an hour for nothing at all, because they still don't have the answer to the joke.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see.
And as far as I know, this is typically English and typically British. Have you ever heard of this kind of joke before, Damian?
No, I've never heard,
Ah,
honestly.
so it doesn't exist in Poland either. So I think
Yeah, 1 hour joke, yeah.
yes, more than enough. This is, I think, unique to the UK. I think this is only the British who have this kind of humor, and it's very special. So it's good that you know about it, so that next time you go to an English-speaking country where there are native level English speakers, and if they start telling you a joke like this, you'll know what's going on, so you don't waste more than an hour of your time listening to a joke which at the end of it really will not fully satisfy what you expect to hear, and it will be, as we say in French, it will leave you hungry. You will still be hungry for an ending because you haven't received your endings. You won't be fully satisfied. Oh, amazing. So tell me, how did you find this English joke humor lesson, Damien?
Well, it was a very nice lesson, but
Mm-hmm.
different and sometimes difficult, but
Oh,
yeah,
yes, yes. But when it's difficult, that's when you're learning the most, you see.
yeah,
It's when it's easy that you're not learning much because you know most of the things already. And if it's difficult, that means most of the things we're talking about are things you don't know. That's why it's difficult. Otherwise, it's easy. And it's when you're learning a lot of new things or difficult things, that's when you're learning the most, because they're things that you don't know before. And that's why it's difficult. Do you see what I mean, Damien?
yeah, completely understand.
So for me, it's a good thing that you did find these things difficult, even though with the explanations given, you now understand better, which means that you've learned a lot of new things, which is great. I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah. So thank you, Walter, for you today class. And
You're ever
take
so
care.
welcome. You wouldn't say for today class, but you would say for today's class
Today.
because it's the class of today. So it's today apostrophe S class for today's class. That's it. Excellent. Thank you very much to you too, Damian. And I look forward to our next lesson together next time. That'll be great.
Yep. See you. Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
take care. You too. Thanks a lot, Damian. Cheers. Bye bye.